Yo, what up? We're back, and this week we're going to be breaking down a pretty good card, man, with Joanna Jedrzejczyk headlining against Michelle Waterson, UFC Tampa. And the first thing I want to say is big thanks to everyone that's been supporting, that's been commenting on the channel, from day one, or even the newest subscribers. I did hit my goal already for the year of 2,000 subscribers, so, I'm pretty excited about that. I wasn't expecting to, get it so early in the year, but we got it done. We hit the goal, so, we're just going to be moving onward and upward, continue to try to grow the channel, give you guys correct picks, and, get it rolling again. But we're going to start right now with the first fight of the night with JJ Aldrich. She's going to be taking on Lauren Mueller. And JJ Aldrich, she had her momentum halted in her last match, but, she had a good showing with Maycee Barber, who's a top prospect. And she was able to bust Barber up. She dropped her in the first round, but kind of quit in the second round. She got finished against the cage with strikes. And Aldrich, she's a close friend, training partner of Rose Namajunas, and she's going to be prepared here. She's a skilled striker. She is improving steadily, it looks like. She's a southpaw, and she's pretty technical, good at controlling distance, staying long. And she likes to paw at the lead hand, find a range, then drop that straight left hand down the pipe. And really good right hook, straight left hand combination. She'll use the check right hook to counter opponents as they overextend. Really good jab, and she's just very composed. I like the way that she controls distance. And she's constantly feinting, constantly faking, staying in and out of range, not being flat-footed. She's great at sliding away, pull countering with her straight left hand or a right hook, straight left hand combination. And at times, though, she can overextend on punches, and she hasn't shown the best head movement over her career. She is there to be hit a little bit on the counter, but she also has some nice kicks, nice body kicks, leg kicks. She'll throw front kicks up the middle, body, head, and she holstered her kicks, really, versus Joanna and Barber, but I imagine she's going to bring them back out here versus Lauren Mueller, and she'll also throw some spinning kicks, some spinning back fists. And when Aldrich gets confident, she's good at, flowing with her combinations, throwing longer combos. And she does stand a little bit heavy on her lead leg. She struggled with some leg kicks from Joanna. But she wasn't really able to find her range as well in that fight either because of the kicks. In this fight, I don't really think she's going to have that kind of thing to deal with here. But in the first round of her last fight, her striking looked great. Her straight left hand was on fire. She even dropped Maycee Barber with it, like I said. And she was doing a good job of punching herself out of the clinch. She wasn't letting Barber bully her or get comfortable at range or inside either. And Barber was forced to throw caution to the wind. And, she was started to become willing to take shots to give shots. And Aldrich does leave her chin high. She doesn't move her head much. And she was hurt with the combination on the feet and finished against the cage standing. She kind of just covered up and gave up, which, you don't really like to see that. So it does seem like maybe she doesn't battle through adversity the best. But it was the first TKO loss of her career. You'd think that that's got to irk her that she lost that way, and she doesn't want to, go out like that again. And she doesn't have big power, but she does have 2 KO TKOs. Aldrich, she's really improved her grappling, but it's still where she can be exploited in the past. But she did show some strong clinch technique against Danielle Taylor. She got some good body lock takedowns. She was able to dig some double underhooks as well against Polyana Viana, control her against the cage. And she isn't bad at when fighters get inside on her, ducking under, getting in the clinch, and changing up the fight, being a little bit more than one-dimensional. And against Maycee Barber, she showed some dirty boxing. When she fought Viana, she was taken down, but she did get her back taken, and she was able to sweep to top position, move to half guard, controlled well, landed some small strikes. She isn't very good on top overall, and she usually will just stall out, just kind of rest. But she does have a decent game off her back. She has decent guard recovery. She'll work the butterfly guard. She creates scrambles pretty well. But fighters in the past have been able to, use strength and pressure to pass her guard and do damage on the ground. And she has been submitted 2 times, and she has no submissions herself, so she's not a threat there. But Lauren Mueller, she has dropped back-to-back fights after winning her UFC debut. And Mueller's going to be the bigger fighter most likely, with Aldrich fighting the majority of her career at 115. And Mueller likes to start fights fast. She uses a lot of forward pressure early. She mixes in good head movement, punching combinations. And she has a good hand speed. She has a fast jab, good 1-2. She'll throw heavy hooks, overhands. Her jab, overhand right is a pretty solid combination for her. Mueller will also attack the body with hooks. She'll throw heavy leg kicks, front kicks up the middle, mostly to the body. She'll throw hard front knees to the body. And late in the fight with Botelho, in her last fight, Mueller came forward with heavy combinations. She was doing well, but she showed very poor fight IQ. And when she dropped Polyana, she followed to the ground, and it cost her the fight. But she'll throw some spinning kicks, some Superman punches as well, some spinning back fist, and she does throw hard. But she kind of isn't composed yet. She only has one career TKO win, and she can be hurt to the body. She's gotten hurt to the body both against Botelho and in her UFC debut against I can't remember who that was. In her Shayna Dobson. Yeah, against Shayna Dobson, she got hurt to the body as well. But she's not the greatest grappler either. And in her last match with Polyana Botelho, she was taken down easily against the cage in the first round. Controlled against the cage, also ate a lot of knees, short elbows. And that was the tail of the fight, mainly as it was Mueller spending the majority of the fight with her back pushed against the cage or on her back. And in previous fights, Mueller had some success in the clinch, landing punches, knees, good tie plum. And she isn't terrible off of her back. She doesn't accept position. She always is scrambling, looking to move. And she's a pretty good guard, decent butterfly guard. She'll dig underhooks from half guard fairly well to stand back up. And she will catch kicks, take fighters down. And on top, she is very aggressive with ground and pound. And she can lose position to try to land big shots at times. She really doesn't have the best top control, and she doesn't have the best submission defense either. She was submitted quickly by an armbar versus Yanan Wu when she was inside of Wu's guard, and she has no submissions, and she's also shown poor cardio in the past, but in her last fight, she looked fresh in the third round, and she's improving for sure. In this fight, early on, my game plan for Aldrich would be to put Mueller against the cage, try to zap a little bit of her energy, attack the body early and often, because Mueller's definitely shown a weakness to body shots, and Mueller's going to be coming heavy, so Aldrich has to be sharp, ready to control distance, counter Mueller coming in, get her respect. If she can get her range with her left hand, she could really start piecing Mueller up, in my opinion. And Aldrich is a southpaw, so that could be something that gives Mueller issues, who's very young in her career. It also opens up the kick to the body, and Mueller needs to pressure, get Aldrich uncomfortable, win in the clinch, in my opinion. And if she's able to pressure, use her combination, speed, power, win the clinch, land some big shots, she could maybe get Aldrich to fold like Macy Barber was able to. But I think Aldrich has good clinch control, better clinch control. I see her being able to find her range, control distance, attack the body, make Mueller miss, maybe even get a takedown. And when Mueller gets too aggressive, I think that she's going to clinch up with her, slow down the fight. I think both these girls are improving, but I see Aldrich being further along in her progression. And I'm going with JJ Aldrich to get it done here. I will say, pre-tape, I was a lot more confident in Aldrich, and I do think that Mueller is a bit of a live dog here, but I'm going with JJ Aldrich. And up next here, we have a fight that's been scheduled 3 times now, and it's kind of turned into a bit of a grudge match now with Marvin Vettori taking on Andrew Sanchez. And Sanchez has been the one that's pulled out of the previous 2 fights, but it's been rescheduled pretty quickly. But Vettori has said in interviews, he wants to hurt him for that, and he's a bitch and all these things. And Andrew Sanchez kind of came back at him and was talking about how he's like a fucking juice head and he probably fucked up his cycle. So it seems like these guys are motivated to fight each other. But Marvin Vettori, he returned from his USADA suspension with that dominant victory over Cesar Muntanchi. And he's going to be looking to continue his climb towards the top 15 here against Andrew Sanchez. He's also has a split decision against the current champion now, Israel Adesanya. And Vettori is a southpaw. He's a forward pressure striker. Very durable. He's definitely willing to take a shot to give one. Good head movement. And he's explosive. He'll touch opponents with the jab to create combinations. He'll double, triple up on the jab. He'll use the jab to start straight punch flurries. And he'll close the distance with long punching combinations. He's good in close range with hooks, uppercuts, good head movement. He'll slip and rip. He's good at returning. And, he definitely will get hit, return in the pocket, back fighters off. And he doesn't throw many kicks, but he has dangerous head kicks. And I would say he's not overly technical, but he just doesn't give opponents a chance to breathe, constantly walking them down, making them go backwards. And when he lands, he has some power to him, and he's coming forward with more than one, so he's forcing you to be on the defensive. And if you try to get in the clinch on the inside, good dirty boxing, he'll let his hands go, throw punches and bunches. And very technical opponents, I believe, who are able to time his entries as he crosses the distance, may be able to finesse him like Adesanya was able to do. But Vettori also took some pretty heavy leg kicks against Muntachi, and that could be a way to potentially hurt him as well. But Vettori has enough power to keep opponents honest, but I would say he doesn't have fight-ending power. He only has 2 career knockouts, and he's never been finished in his career. Very, very durable. And he's well-rounded. You know, he really showed off his grappling against Cesar Muntachi, who's a black belt. He has good single and double leg takedowns, good timing on the shots, catches kicks well into takedowns, and his cardio is top-notch. When opponents stand up, or you know, if he could just not get the takedown, he's right back on him. In the clinch, he'll attack with knees, short hooks, uppercuts. He has close-range power for sure. And in top position, he has great control. He'll pass the dominant positions. He'll throw some short elbows, hammer fists, looks moves to side control or full mount. And he was actually able to take down Adesanya, control him from side control for a couple minutes. He mounted Cesar Ferreira. Good back takes, and he'll look to lock in rear naked chokes. His takedown defense is also very good. He has good balance, digs double underhooks well. He was able to defend that vaunted double leg of Ferreira. He was able to dig the underhooks and put his back against the cage, actually. So he reversed that double leg, which is taking out a lot of high-level guys. And Vettori has a lot of, you know, experience against high-level BJJ fighters. He's also fought Antonio Carlos Jr., held his own there in the grappling. And he also will counter takedown attempts with Kimuras. And if he's taken down, he's very hard to hold down. He'll attack off his back with sweeps, submissions. And he has 8 submission victories. And he's still looking for his first finish in the UFC, though, since his debut where he hit a guillotine. He hasn't had a finish in his last 7 fights. And Vettori has fought some high-level opponents, and he's quietly building a solid resume. I mean, he's beaten guys like Cesar Muntachi. He's fought tough with guys, you know, like Israel Adesanya, like Shoeface. And it's going to be no different. You know, he has a tough task in Andrew Sanchez, but he's going to have to implement his usual game. Pace, pressure, combination punching, wrestling, clinch, and just blend it together. And he's going to be huge in there. I believe that he's going to be the bigger guy. When Sanchez tries to slow it down in the clinch, he needs to use combinations, disengage. Don't let him break. Or don't let him rest, I'm sorry. Keep the pressure high and try to break him. And maybe try to put Sanchez on his back. But Sanchez does have 100% takedown defense in the UFC. For Andrew Sanchez, you know, he's looked better than ever recently for sure. Changed his camp to TriStar. And he upped his fight IQ, his cardio. He's won back-to-back fights. And he's 4-2 in the UFC overall. This is kind of a crossroads fight for Sanchez, who's the older guy here. Vettori's still very young. But most likely the winner's going to get a top 15 fighter. And Sanchez, you know, he's kind of changed his style a little bit. He isn't as high volume. He's more grappling based. He kind of likes to box. And his striking, you know, he's using it in a much different way against Barrios. He was holding his hands low. He was trying to bounce on the outside. Use kind of a karate stance and counter with straight shots. And he definitely has good hand speed and he has good feints. Good jab, nice 1-2, and he'll also use the jab to explode into multi-punch combinations, whether it's hooks or straight punches. But I would say Vettori is a little bit faster and tighter with his punches. I would say that he definitely has more power than Vettori and throws wider than Vettori does at times. And he has a really nice uppercut. He'll throw uppercut left hook. He has a nice left hook. And in the past, he showed a lot of short-range power. Obviously, we saw that against Ryan James. He floored him with some huge shots. He'll throw a lot of kicks with both legs, inside-outside leg kicks, round kicks, front kicks, body head. And he'll even throw some nice question mark kicks. And he used to go full clip for the finish, and he's kind of figured out that he can't blow his wad, and he kind of now just pot shots guys to set up takedowns, but he still hits hard. He has 7 knockouts, and he definitely, his durability is going to be lesser than Vettori's. He has been finished 3 times by KO TKO. And he's kind of, like I said, gone back to his roots in his last 2 fights, where he used a lot of cage grinding, wrestling, good clinch control. He'll attack knees to the body, head. He can leave too much space, though, and be hittable in the clinch, and I feel Vettori is going to take advantage of that. Sanchez needs to have the cardio also to keep the same pace for 3 rounds if he's going to grapple. And in his last fight, he did show off a nice single leg. And when he takes opponents down, he does a good job grapevining the legs, trapping the wrist. And when opponents have their backs against the cage, he'll try to slowly move into full mount. His top control is pretty impressive. And in top position, I do think Vettori could have some problems. I think Sanchez is actually pretty high level in top position. His last 2 opponents, though, haven't had the same wrestling level of Vettori. And it's going to be interesting to see if Sanchez can actually take him down. But the wrestling and cage control has been key in his last 2 victories. But he was able to rest a little bit in those fights, control the pace. I definitely feel that he's going to not be able to do that in this fight. And we really haven't seen anything from Sanchez off his back in the UFC. Is 100% takedown defense. But he does have a good jiu-jitsu pedigree. And he only has 2 submissions, though, in MMA. And he hasn't gotten a submission since 2012. In this fight, I think Sanchez is going to need to be better than ever with his countering, with his distance control. He has to make Vettori pay as he tries to enter range and get his respect, slow the pace, and see who the superior grappler is. And if he's able to get the single leg or control against the cage, that's going to go a long way for him in terms of getting the victory. But I feel Marvin Vettori should win the fight. I think he's going to be able to cook Sanchez, win a decision, and run away with it late, or even get a finish in the 3rd round. I just see his pressure, his combinations being a lot for Sanchez to deal with. I think Sanchez will land some counters, but I don't think it's going to back off Vettori, and I think Vettori is willing to eat shots all night and just continue to push that pressure. And I think when Sanchez tries to grapple, he's going to be rebuffed and maybe even put on his back. I just see Vettori being the better all-around fighter, better conditioned, and I'm going to say Sanchez survives, but loses 29 or 28 with a potential 10-7 3rd round for Vettori. But I'm going with Marvin to get it done here, and I think he's going to be able to do it. Up next year, we have a pretty fun fight with Miguel Baeza taking on Hector Aldana. And Miguel Baeza is getting his UFC debut here after a successful outing on the Dana White Contender Series. He's an MMA Masters guy, and he's actually been training with Nico Price for this fight, so they're both training to fight on the same card. And that's a very good kind of a proximity for Aldana, even though I feel like Price is obviously much higher level. But Baeza, he's a very tall welterweight. He's 6'2", and he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here in this matchup. And he's undefeated. He's 7-0. He's 7-0. He's the favorite here. And he's a great athlete. On the feet, he's dangerous, but he's still a little bit green. And he likes to stay on the outside, use long attacks. He doesn't throw many jabs, but he'll throw some occasional 1-2s. With the hands, he really likes to throw the straight right hand. He can close a lot of distance with it. He has big power when it lands. And Baeza will also turn the straight into a nice tight right hook, which he used to drop Victor Reina on the Contender Series. But he can get very wild at times. In a fight in Titan FC, he landed overhand right. He winded up from hell, man, that knocked his opponent out. But those fights in Titan FC were a long time ago. And Baeza, at least on the show, he doesn't put combinations together much. But inside, he will flurry. He has fast hands. He has a nice front kick, body head. He has a tricky head kick. And in his fight with Victor Reina, you could tell he still isn't the best with his footwork. He would get static at times, and he allowed Reina to back him up towards the cage. But Reina can, kind of expose his chin at times, and he held his hands low. And Baeza was able to catch him as he came in. He dropped him a couple times. And Baeza does have solid head movement. He did eat some heavy combinations against Reina. And Baeza does hold his hands low as well. And his boxing defense definitely needs a little bit of work. But he did drop Reina in both rounds 1 and 2. He did get a little bit tired in the 3rd round of that fight. In this fight, though, I feel like if he stays long range, he should have success on the feet. He has to be ready to check leg kicks because I think he's going to be a little bit vulnerable to them. But Baeza should be the faster guy. He hits hard, so if you can counter the kicks or check the kicks, I think he's going to have a lot of success on the feet. And he does have 4 knockouts in his 7 wins. And Baeza is also a good grappler. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, but there isn't a ton of footage on tape of him grappling in MMA. I have seen him hit a nice double leg, and he landed some nice ground and pound inside Victor Reina's guard in his last fight. He was throwing some elbows, some shots over the top, some tricky uppercuts, and he's a quick back taker. He'll trap a wrist when he's on top or inside his opponent's guard, land shots, force opponents to turtle or, give up their backs. And he was able to do that after dropping Vettori, and he was able to almost get a rear naked choke. Reina was able to survive, scream him back to his feet, and Reina took him down also with the body lock against the cage, and he went for an anaconda, but wasn't able to get it. And it seemed like Baeza kind of was a little bit susceptible off his back, but in this fight, I don't think he's going to have to deal with any type of grappling from Hector Aldana. And he actually has no submissions in his career. For Aldana, he has his back against the wall here. Aldana's lost 3 fights in a row, and he hasn't earned a victory since 2015. And Aldana has beaten really nothing but low-level fighters in his career. And he's a prototypical Mexican fighter. He's a boxer. He stays in your face. He keeps the pace high. He likes to go to war. He'll throw big power. He'll throw a nice crisp jab followed by straights, good hooks. And he throws in combination well. He changes up his target, body, head. He'll attack the body with hooks. He has good accuracy, good power, very heavy leg kicks. And that's really his main thing that you have to worry about with him. And he has good head movement. He does a good job of getting his head off a center line after he throws combinations. And Aldana can get too over-aggressive, and he can put himself in bad positions. He throws himself off balance. He also doesn't have good footwork. He doesn't cut the cage off well. And due to this, he relies on opponents standing in front of him. He's good at blocking and returning trading, but if you hit and move, he really struggles. And that's how Laureano Staropoli was able to outstrike him. And if you trade with Aldana, he does have good power. He has 2 knockouts in his 4 wins, and he has a good chin. And, he has only been finished once via TKO. But he's a one-dimensional fighter, man. He doesn't have good takedown defense. He doesn't have good jiu-jitsu. And that's going to continue to be an issue for him in the UFC. In the clinch, he also could be controlled against the cage. And off his back, he just seems lost. He doesn't have good get-ups. He's not active. He got choked out very quickly against Enrique Marin. And he has 1 submission. He's been submitted once, but he doesn't go for takedowns. He doesn't really have much of a top game. He did catch a couple kicks, get a couple trip takedowns against Kenan Song, but didn't stay in top position. He just let him right back up. Aldana does have good cardio. He's fighting out in Mexico, and he's been submitted, like I said, once via rear naked choke. For this fight, I have to go with Baeza. I think on the feet it could be close early, but I think Baeza is going to take him down eventually, and I think he has the higher likelihood of knocking him out with 1 shot. And I think if Baeza is smart, stays long, pull counters, uses some takedowns, I think he's going to be just too good for Aldana. And I also think he could get a head kick knockout. And but my pick's going to be Baeza via 2nd round rear naked choke. I think he's going to get his first submission here and get his first UFC victory as well. Now next year we have a really fun fight with Marlon Chito Vera taking on Andre Ewell. And Marlon Vera, he's been on a roll. He's finished 4 consecutive fights. And he's a solid striker. He switch stances. There's a lot of kicks. Hard low leg kicks. Good jab, straight left hand from southpaw. He'll throw hard round kicks, front kicks from southpaw. He'll also throw side kicks to the body, hard round kicks to the head. He'll throw oblique kicks to the knees with both legs. And he likes to throw jab, left hooks. He'll throw throw a lot of lead left hooks, uppercuts from orthodox. And he'll throw a jab right hook to a body kick from orthodox. He really does a lot of boxing from orthodox. His straight left hand, though, is also really accurate in southpaw. He has pop. I mean, he's kind of a tricky guy to deal with on the feet. And he's usually a slow starter, but he comes in around 2, reinvigorated. He definitely has a killer be killed style. Super aggressive. He walks fighters down, really puts heavy volume pressure on them. He'll throw a lot of push kicks, try to get fighters moving backwards, and then attack with flying knees when they're near the cage. And he finished Luigi Byrne with a nasty left hook to the body. And in his last fight, he landed a nasty knee that led to the finish. And Vera walks runs down with a high guard, but doesn't move his head much. He stands tall, and it makes him a little bit hittable. He also is, able to be attacked to the body as well. But he's very durable. He's never been finished in his career. He's fought a lot of hitters, and he has 4 knockouts himself. He's also a good grappler. He likes to get the tie clinch, has hard knees, body, head. He'll also throw hard hooks to the body. He has a nice single collar clinch where he'll mix in some uppercuts, body shots. and he's good at disengaging with combinations, especially against the cage. And he was able to finish Guido Canetti with some really nice knees against the cage. He's really good at throwing combinations to set up his takedowns, and he hurt Canetti bad against the cage, attack with the guillotine. He also was able to eventually get the rear naked choke on Canetti. And Vera, he doesn't really have the greatest takedown defense, but he's tricky off his back. He got an armbar versus Brian Kelleher. He'll attack with nice elbows. He has good get-ups, but the thing is, he doesn't really have the greatest takedowns. He doesn't really even go for takedowns much. He really just uses his forward pressure to make his opponent shoot and then submit him. But he is definitely improving. He's gaining confidence every time out. He has 7 submissions, and he has 4 wins in a row via finish. Great cardio. He gets better as the fight goes on. And he's going to be taking on a guy who's 2-1 in his UFC career, in Andre Ewell. And Ewell had a fun back-and-forth fight with Anderson Dos Santos where he took a unanimous decision. And for Ewell, he's very fast. He's long. He's explosive. He's powerful. He has good distance control. Good jab, left hook. Nasty straight right hand. He'll throw a powerful 1-2. And his whole game is really predicated on countering. He'll use his lead hand jab or left hook to touch his opponents. He waits for him to commit so he can pull counter with the right hand. Very good at landing shots with the back foot. He's good at planting, springing into the straight or overhand hook or right hand. And he's very willing to trade. He has fast hand speed. In his last fight, he was landing a lot of wide hook combinations. And he'll throw some occasional leg kicks, some snap kicks up the middle, round kicks to the head. And in the past, he was throwing, a lot of kicks, way more. But he was taken down off those kicks versus Nathaniel Wood. And when he fought Anderson Dos Santos in his last fight, you could see him primarily using the hands. Ewell can leave his chin high. Fighters who could slip and come over the top can hurt him with big shots. And Nathaniel Wood was able to drop him, keep him on the back foot by doing that. And Ewell is just not a good grappler either. He has a deficiency with takedown defense and being off of his back. Ewell doesn't defend takedown shots very well. He could also be taken down in the clinch. His control, his distance control isn't bad, but he just doesn't have the best control or the best takedown defense you can get in on his legs. He did defend a few double legs against the cage in his last fight, but he was taken down with a single in the second round. And he was able to stand up in round 2 and round 3 by exploding out of the mount. But he still showed some major shortcomings on the ground. He was taken down with the double leg in the third round. He couldn't get back to his feet near the end of the round. And he's long. He does have a decent guard. And he'll use it to try to get front chokes, try to create scrambles to stand back up. But he'll explode at the wrong times. He'll kind of make the wrong movements at times. When he fought Nathaniel Wood, he gave his back. He was submitted. He does have decent front chokes, and he'll attack with guillotines, darces to defend takedowns. And Ewell has to know his grappling isn't good, and he needs to improve that. And if he's taken out in this fight, though, he's in trouble because he's facing a finisher and Cheeto on the mat. And Ewell has been submitted 3 times, and he does have 4 submissions. But I would say he showed some improvement with his fight IQ in his last fight. But his opponent didn't really look to grapple as much as he should. And in this fight, man, I just feel like I got to go with Cheeto Vera here because I think that if this fight hits the mat one time, Andre Ewell is in trouble. And I think that if this fight gets gritty, that Vera's going to be able to win. And I think that Vera, if he's losing a range striking battle, I think he's going to be willing to close that distance, make it ugly, get Ewell in the clinch, land some knees, land some shots, and eventually find a way to get it to the ground. And I think he's going to get a finish here. So I'm going with Cheeto Vera via late second, early third round submission in this fight. Probably a rear naked choke, and the pick is going to be Marlon Cheeto Vera here. And up next here we have a really interesting fight in my opinion with Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Tim Elliott. And Figueiredo, he had arguably the best performance of his career in his last match. He had that war with Pantoja, but he was largely one step ahead the whole night. And with the win here, he's likely going to be looking at a title shot. And he's probably one of the biggest featherweights, if not the biggest featherweight on the roster. And I would say he definitely has the most one-punch knockout power. On the feet, Figueiredo is basic, but that's definitely not bad. He has one-punch knockout power. He's a big presence. He cuts the cage off well. He will switch stances, and he always is trying to control the center. He kind of likes to stand in front of opponents, feint, touch, try to wait for him to come so he could pull counter. And he uses a lot of wide stance. He uses a wide stance, hands down. Very athletic and explosive. So when opponents, try to attack, he can explode in counter very quickly. He has a very nice jab. He'll skip into range with double jab 1-2s. He has heavy low kicks. He has a powerful straight or overhand right. And he likes to kind of shuffle into range and explode into a left or right hook or overhand. Sometimes when he does that, when he explodes into those hooks, if his opponents could see him coming and matador him, will throw himself into the cage. So you can tell that he's throwing those hooks like 1,000% power. And he'll attack the body as well with straights, with hooks that have big power. He hurt John Moraga to the body. The issue with Figueiredo striking is he loads up a lot. And if opponents are able to use smart movements and don't engage in firefights, he really isn't the fastest guy with his footwork in terms of cutting the cage off. And due to the fact he doesn't really throw in combination, he can be low volume, not land much, if fighters can avoid the big shots. And Figueiredo will also get frustrated, start lunging in, using big movements. And that makes it easier to time takedowns, catch him with counters. In his last fight, he was the most composed he was in his career, but Pantoja was willing to engage with Figueiredo, and he was kind of like standing in the pocket with him. He gave him more of the fight than he should have. And I see Elliot, doing the complete opposite. Figueiredo definitely packs punch, 8 knockouts, and he's never been finished by strikes. He's very durable. And, the thing about it, though, is Figueiredo has struggled with grapplers over his career. He got that victory by the skin of his teeth versus Jared Brooks. He was taken down multiple times in that fight, every round. And his loss to Jussier Formiga was able to take him down to cement rounds as well. And Figueiredo just doesn't have the greatest takedown defense or get-up game. He was dumped with double legs versus Brooks. He was taken down with a lot of singles and body locks with versus Formiga, which is Elliot's specialty. And off of his back, Figueiredo doesn't do much. He'll try to play the guard game, control posture. He'll throw some elbows, punches off his back. And he did cut Formiga with the elbow on bottom, but, he doesn't really look to get back to his feet as quickly as I would like to see. He does sometimes, get his feet on the hips, push you off, but he can be too complacent on his back. In his fights with both Formiga and Brooks, they both had over 5 minutes of top control. Davison does have a dangerous guillotine, but he doesn't use the guillotine to sweep. He uses it to, jump into his full guard. And if opponents escape, he's on his back. And when he's in full guard off his back, he doesn't really throw up very many submissions. He isn't super dangerous. And offensively, he isn't a bad wrestler. He's very big for the division. He'll get in on double underhooks. He'll use that position to land trip takedowns. He actually landed a nice blast double versus Pantoja. He wasn't able to control on top position very long before Pantoja scrambled back to his feet, but I don't see him being able to control Elliot in top position. I don't even see him going for takedowns. In this fight, I think Figueiredo has to stay composed, try to cut Elliot off, not get frustrated by the movement, and just catch him as he's coming in or do that silly movement that he does on the outside. Use a straight right hand or uppercut. Maybe even look for a flying knee. And if he gets taken down, don't work his guard game. Just work back to his feet as quickly as possible. Figueiredo does have 5 submissions, but none in very recent memory. And he's never been submitted yet in his career. But Tim Elliott, he's making his return after a long layoff. He hasn't fought since December of 2016. And he had a terrible knee injury. He blew out like his ACL, MCL, a lot of ligaments in his knee. And due to the severity of his injury, I'm not really sure if Elliot was able to improve over this layoff. I heard an interview with Elliot where he said he was offered a fight in July, but he couldn't accept it because he was still recovering. So hopefully he's ready to go. He's 100% come fight time. But Tim Elliott is a tough guy. He's fought a lot of the best fighters in flyweight history. He's a former title challenger. And he had an anaconda choke finish his last time out versus Mark De La Rosa, so he's coming in here off of a victory. And Elliot, he's a grinding wrestler and a tough matchup historically for Figueiredo. It's tough kind of describe how Elliot strikes in the feet. It looks like he has no rhyme or reason for some of the things he does. His coach and fighter James Krause kind of maybe gave the best description when he said he has anti-timing on the feet. He has herky-jerky movement. He switches stances. He'll even do like the ollie shuffle into a combination at times or takedown attempt. He'll throw a lot of range-finding low kicks, oblique kicks. And he'll use the jab occasionally. And he uses a lot of odd movement to create openings for blitzes. He'll kind of like try to lull you to sleep and then blitz in. And he will close the distance with straight or hook punch combinations, front kicks, body, head. And inside, he'll let his hands go. He has good dirty boxing. He'll back opponents to the fence with blitzes, get in the clinch, dig body shots, stay busy. And he has good head movement, good lateral movement to avoid shots. He really doesn't get hit a lot in fights. And he has a knack for forcing fighters to fight his style of fight. I mean, it seems like every fight that he's in is a scramble fest, man. But Elliot has been finished by strikes one time in his third pro fight. Very durable, but he has 3 knockouts. He isn't really a big knockout threat. And he's going to be a bigger flyweight too, so I don't know if Davidson's going to be able to bully him as much as he does these other guys. But Tim Elliott is extremely fan-friendly grappling style, man. He's extremely active seeker of the takedown, and takedowns basically everyone he fights. You know, he's a 6 single and double leg. He's excellent at using combinations to create opportunities to duck under into shots. In top position, Elliott is constantly moving. There will never be a stagnant position with Tim Elliott, man. It's scramble cities. If he's on top, he's looking to pass. He's looking to get to side control, work the crucifix, look for an arm triangle, force opponents to give their back, look for no-hook rear naked chokes, catch guillotines. He's always looking to get the neck, snap down opponents, take them out. And in Elliott's aggressiveness, you know, he does put himself in bad positions. He gets his head caught in guillotine positions at times. Smolka was able to use the guillotine to sweep him out, do some damage. And on bottom, Elliott is fantastic, though. He has a sick butterfly guard. He's excellent in scrambles off bottom as well. Even when he gets mounted or his back's taken, he'll stay calm until he can create an opportunity to get a 2-on-1 or give his back and stand back up. And he's excellent at bellying down into single legs and constantly moving. You know, when his opponents get top position, he's able to, you know, 15 seconds later sweep, get back on top. It demoralizes them. And Elliott is taking you down at will, and then when you get dominant position on him and he scrambles to top position, it just breaks some guys. And he weaponizes cardio, especially early on in fights. He doesn't pace himself whatsoever. He just comes out like a bat out of hell and just knows that he's able to recover in that 1 minute in between rounds. In the first round, Demetrius Johnson, you know, he took him down. He locked in a guillotine, a Darce. He outstruck him. But as the fight went on, Johnson started using Elliott's weird movement, his kicks, and against him, and started taking him down, controlling him against the mat. And when Johnson started getting top position, he was actually able to stay on top of Elliott, but not do much damage. But I don't think that most fighters have the technique to keep Elliott on his back like that. And Elliott did attempt a head and arm throw in a fight versus Ben Wynn, and Wynn was able to take his back, choke him out in less than a minute. They were both very dry. He just kind of caught him right away and choked him out. But he's very dangerous with submissions himself. He's always hunting the neck. He has an anaconda choke in his last fight, 8 submission victories. And he has been submitted 3 times, but historically throughout Elliott's careers, he's struggled with wrestlers more than strikers. This is a decent matchup for Elliott to jump right back into the scene. And in this fight, I'm actually going to go with Tim Elliott. I think that he's going to put Figueiredo on his back and keep him there. I don't think that Figueiredo's going to be able to scramble back to his feet. He may catch a guillotine, but I just find that unlikely. I think that on the feet, Elliott's not going to engage much at all. I expect him to move around, not be stationary, just wait for Figueiredo to get frustrated, overextend, and then grab a hold of him. And I think that his cardio is great, is going to get it done here. And I'm going to go with Tim Elliott to get the upset here and win via decision. And up next here, we have a fight with Max Griffin versus Alex Morono. And Max Griffin, he bounced back from 2 consecutive losses. He got that win in a grudge match over Zalim Amadeov. And Griffin's going to be looking for his first 2-fight win streak in the UFC. And he has some excellent lateral movement, very fast hand speed, good jab, body, head, very fast 1-2s. His straight right hand is very fast. He has big power with it. He dropped Mike Perry with the straight right hand left hook. And he's good at meeting opponents in the middle with combinations. And he also closes the distance with straight punches, hooks. He's very good at darting in with a straight shot, then getting out of range. Very fast hand speed. You'll throw some nice inside-outside leg kicks, occasional head kicks, good step-in knee. And he's very durable, man. I mean, he ate some huge shots against Thiago Alves, Perry, Melendez, Zaleski, and just stayed in the fight. If fighters can cut him off, you know, they can sometimes land wide hooks or overhands as he exits. But Griffin starts fights very sharp usually. He's powerful, he's technical, but as time goes on, he gasses hard. His movement becomes much more labored. His punches and kicks come very slow. And he's definitely the most dangerous in the first round. 5 of his 7 knockouts are in round 1. And after that, he becomes a lot more hittable. And he has only been TKO'd though one time because he was unable to get out of a position on the ground against Colby Covington. But Griffin has said that he's went and done that same type of conditioning training that Ashley Yoder did, I believe, that Liz Carmouche did, where they're doing like that military type training where they're doing like underwater jiu-jitsu and underwater weightlifting and all this stuff. So, he could come in here with some improved cardio, in my opinion. And Max Griffin, he's really improved as a grappler. He won his last match via wrestling. He did a great job digging underhooks, landing trip or body lock takedowns. And he's also good at using underhooks to drive opponents to the cage where he can chain wrestle. And drop down into singles and doubles from there. Good control. And you'll throw the overhand right directly into single or body lock. And on top, Griffin's good at getting in the half guard, landing short elbows. He'll control, a wrist, try to get a tight waist, get the side control. And he's good at turking the legs, transitioning to mount. He'll also force opponents to give their back, and he has good back control. He'll look for rear naked chokes. But he definitely cares more about position than getting the finish. And he's definitely gotten better with his top control. He was able to earn the victory, mostly due to top control in his last match. And Alex Morono has actually struggled with being put on his back in the UFC. I think it would be a smart game plan to try to take him down. And Griffin does have 8 takedowns in his last 2 fights. And Griffin has been taken out 0 times in those fights also. He was put on his back, dominated by Colby Covington, but he really hasn't been on his back much since that contest. And Griffin has 2 submissions, and he has been submitted 1 time. But Alex Morono, he had a very good performance versus Zach Otto. He finished him in the first round. And he has won 3 of his last 4 fights. But, when you look at Max Griffin's level of competition versus Zach Otto's, Griffin has fought much higher level competition. But Morono's transition has came to 4-7 May with better training partners, coaches. And he should be maximizing his potential. He's a cerebral guy. And I see him taking in the knowledge, implementing it. And, he has decent ladder movement himself. He's light on his feet. Good jab, left hook. He'll throw a good right hook lead. He likes to throw a jab, overhand right. He'll throw looping overhand rights, jab, overhand rights. He has a solid head kick, good spinning heel kick. He'll throw some nice front kicks, body, head. But he can get lazy throwing kicks, not set them up well, leave his chin in the air when he throws them and get countered. He also stands up very tall, and he's there to be leg kicked and taken down. He really doesn't throw in combination a lot, especially with his hands. He'll try to dart in with, one overhand or throw a jab or spinning back fist, but he doesn't put combinations together. His footwork, his ability to cut guys off, keep a pace, high volume of strikes is probably his greatest strength. He really, even though he doesn't put combinations together, he backs guys up and will touch them a lot. He kind of just touches, backs out, touches, and he keeps kind of a high pace. And he can wear guys down. And in this fight, that's what he needs to do. He isn't really very tactical, man. He gets very wide. He'll get winging hooks, overhands. He tends to duck his head and swing and pray. Even in his last fight, I really don't think he showed much improvements in that aspect. He just was able to kind of get the guillotine and moving him out. But he hasn't shown major power over his career. He has 4 knockouts. He has a decent chin, but he has been knocked out twice himself. Morono, he is a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he showed off some of his skills in his last match with that, where he was taken down with the double leg, but he was able to lock in a guillotine, use it to reverse the mount, and he finished in top position with ground and pound. He also locked in a nice guillotine versus Josh Berkman, and he is a black belt, but he's not much of an offensive grappler. I mean, he did jump guillotine against Berkman, but that was an old weathered Berkman, and he's not a wrestler. He'll, rarely go for takedowns. He did attempt a double leg versus Kenan Song. I think that's the only takedown he's ever attempted in the UFC, and he has 0 UFC takedowns. And his takedown defense is not very good. I mean, he could be taken down pretty easily. He'll wing shots wildly. Opponents can duck under, take him down. And he was taken down over and over by Jordan Mean. He didn't show much off his back. He does have some decent guard retention. He's hard to pass, but not dangerous. And he will try to throw up arm bars and triangles, but isn't really fast with them. I don't think he's going to catch many guys that know what they're doing with that. He does have a couple submissions over his career, but he doesn't have good get-ups. He stays stuck on his back in most fights. And I definitely think it's still something that fighters are going to be able to exploit going forward in his career. He does have 6 submissions, and he's never been submitted, but Morono needs to keep this fight on the feet. He needs to be a little bit more composed, use his in and out movement, try to land some big shots on Griffin. We've seen Morono show some nice counter-striking versus Nico Price, and if Morono can keep this fight on the feet, get Griffin tied by, backing him up, he could take over as the fight goes on. I see love for Morono this week, but I just don't see it. I don't think he has a striking defense to walk Griffin down without getting tagged with the straights or the knees up the middle. And I think that Griffin's going to start off moving and striking. And when Morono gets over aggressive, he's going to get takedowns. And I think that he just needs to be careful not to get caught in the guillotine or swept. And I see him getting the victory. If he's to lose, I think it's because he gasses out and loses the last half of round 2 and round 3 or gets finished in the 3rd. But I actually think he has a chance to drop Morono in round 1. And I see him getting a takedown, controlling in another round, and getting a unanimous decision victory, though. And I'm going with Max Griffin to get the victory here. And I think that, he's I don't want to say a safe play, but I think that he should get it done here. And up next, we have another good matchup here with Devin Clark taking on Ryan Spann. And Ryan Spann, he's going to be looking to build off of his knockout of Antonio Rogerio Nogueira and run his UFC record of 3-0. And he's another 4-7 guy fighting on this card. And he's a very athletic, long fighter. He has an 81.5-inch reach, and he uses it well. He's very good at controlling distance with jabs, with straights. He has a good jab. He throws it stiff. He can stun opponents with it. He'll also double jab in a range for a straight or right hook. He starts very fast usually, and he goes on the offense from the start. There's really no feeling out process. He has a nice check left hook. He has decent leg kicks, and he can throw some nice body kicks, and he has good movement for a fighter his size. But sometimes he tends to not really use it. He's flat-footed. He could show some bad tall man defense. And doesn't throw much of anything besides jabs, 1-2s. And he can get very obvious. He can get tagged with some overhands at times. He has a questionable chin. I mean, he's gotten rocked in many fights. He's gotten knocked out twice. And he's coming off a nasty knockout, though. He definitely has power, and he has 4 career knockouts. His confidence is probably at an all-time high. Ryan Spann, he's not the best grappler, and he's definitely going to be looking to keep this fight standing. I don't think he has the best takedown defense. He isn't bad at controlling distance, but opponents can get in on his legs. His defense isn't the best. He'll look to counter with guillotines. He has decently fast hips. He does jump guillotine. He'll use the guillotines to roll into mount or snap opponents down. He was able to get a front choke in less than 40 seconds on the Contender Series. And if fighters can get in on his legs or in the clinch, though, he doesn't do a good job defending the takedown. He'll keep his feet too close together. He can be taken on with single legs. He also lets opponents get deep on body locks, but he has good balance. He's much harder to take down in the clinch. He'll use his height to reverse top position. Spann was able to reverse Luis Henrique, but he couldn't really control on top. Off of his back, Ryan Spann is not the greatest. He will throw up some triangles, arm bars, but they don't come very fast. I don't think he's going to catch Devin Clark. He doesn't have good get-ups, and he will sweep to top position, but that's usually from making his opponents, or from his opponents making a mistake, not really from him being a good grappler. He is a decent offensive wrestler. He'll go for singles, doubles, but in this fight, I don't think he's going to be effective with his takedowns. And he tends to get desperate for takedowns when he gets hurt. He can panic wrestle, get very sloppy with his entries, and he leaves his head exposed to be hit with elbows, punches. He got knocked out by Carl Robertson with those Travis Brown type elbows, and Alex Nicholson hurt him very bad with those same shots. But he does have solid ground and pound, decent top control, good job of taking the back, and good body lock. He's good at sinking in rear naked chokes. He has 10 submissions. In this fight, though, I would try to keep it standing unless there's like a gimme takedown. But Spann has been submitted just one time, and he has good cardio. And Devin Clark, he bounced back from his loss to Alexander Rakic with a decision victory over Stosic. And Clark, he was the underdog for that fight. He's once again the underdog in this matchup. And Clark, he's the main training partner for John Jones. He's an athletic wrestler. He's light on his feet. He's explosive. And in round 1, he's dangerous. He's dropped his last 2 opponents in the first round. He has solid inside-outside leg kicks. He dropped Darko Stosic with a jab. And he'll throw good 1-2s. He has a nice straight and overhand right. He'll throw hook or straight punch combinations to close the distance. Very good leaping left hook, which he dropped Alexander Rakic with, who's a top prospect. He'll throw front and hook kicks to the body and head, Superman punches. He can be pretty athletic. He'll throw some spinning back fists. And when fighters pressure him, he'll use his spinning back fist to counter. That can get him knockdowns like it did versus Stosic, or it can get him in trouble and knocked out like versus Alexander Rakic. But he holds his hands low, and sometimes he can close the distance, hands down, chin high. And Clark will also turn his back at times when he gets hit, which you never like to see. But he's gotten much more composed. He sticks and moves a lot more, uses a lot more lateral movement. And his striking now is basically all to set up his entries to get the fight to the mat. In Clark's last fight, he was able to dominate round 3, though, by pot-shotting Stosic, staying on the outside. He does have big power, he's explosive, and he has 3 KO TKOs. He has been finished by strikes twice. Devin Clark, he's a junior college national wrestling champion, and I see him trying to get this fight to the mat. Good control in the clinch. He'll hold opponents against the cage, work knees, elbows. He works well off the breaks with combinations, and he's able to, throw combinations off the break, then re-clinch with opponents, and that really gasses some guys out. He was able to do that against Stosic and really just get him extremely tired in the 3rd round. And Clark also does a good job feigning his way inside. He has a good double leg. He'll also close the distance with a straight or uppercut directly into a takedown attempt. When he gets his hands connected, he usually takes down opponents easily. He can take opponents for a ride with explosive takedowns. He also has strong body locks. And Clark's top control isn't elite, but it's also not bad. He'll trap a wrist from the guard, try to Turk the legs, move to mount, force opponents to give their back. He does a good job getting in the wrestling ride position, and he'll throw down some shots from there. Good cardio. He can wrestle for 3 consecutive rounds, and he's really good at, reshooting and continuously just staying on opponents, staying connected to opponents, taking him down over and over. He has 15 takedowns in 7 UFC fights, and he's only been taken down 2 times. And he's in submission threat. He only has 1 submission in his career, and he was submitted 1 time by Jan Blachowicz. In this matchup, I like Devin Clark. If you saw Span's fight with Luis Henrique, we saw Luis Henrique take down Span in every round, and he had solid top control in a couple rounds. And I think in this fight, Clark is more explosive with his takedown entries. He's faster with his takedowns. I think he has better riding ability, cage control. I think that on the feet, Clark will also have much more success than Henrique. Clark will stay composed, not throw much. But if Span overextends and Clark lands, I think Clark has a chance to hurt him. And Span can knock Clark out also, but I think that Clark is starting to put it together more. I see Clark being able to get in the clinch enough, grinding, getting takedowns, just nullifying Span to get a decision victory. I think there could be some scary moments, but I think Clark gets the win, and I could even see Clark getting a first-round knockout. But my pick is going to be Devin Clark via decision here. Man, I actually love this fight. This is a sick fight with Nico Price taking on James Vick. And, man, Nico Price is back to deliver the fans more violence, man. Price was on the wrong end of a TKO versus Jeff Neal, but it was a back-and-forth fight. Both fighters got dropped, but Neal prevailed in the end of it. And Price went to MMA Masters for this camp, which is a huge upgrade from his usual training situation. And for me, Nico Price is a danger striker, very opportunistic more than anything. He uses a lot of lateral movement, leg kicks, straight right hands. He likes to be all the way out or all the way in. And in this fight, he needs to use the leg kicks, but set them up better because Vick is very sharp counters. And Vick has been susceptible to leg kicks in the past, but people have to set them up against him. He will hang around on the outside, Price, and kind of just wait for his opponents to commit, meet him in the middle with the counter, or explode in with the shot. And Price likes to come over the top with looping left and right hooks. He'll throw a left hand slap almost into a right hook, a right straight. And he has nice rounded front kicks to the body, to the head. He can be a little bit awkward when he's forced to go first. He can hold his hands low, and he just doesn't move the fastest coming inside. In almost every fight, he gets tagged with huge shots as he comes forward. He almost accepts he's going to get hit to give his own. And this fight with Tim Means, I mean, that was fucking crazy, man. He was getting pieced up with straights, with front kicks. He was getting beat up bad. I mean, that's Vick's game, too. I mean, Tim Means stunned him 5-6 times in a minute, man, where he's just backing up. It was like a clinic. It was target practice. And then Means overextended 1 time, and 1 hook ended his night. I mean, just flatlined the dude. And that's what makes Price so dangerous, man. He just needs an opponent to make 1 mistake to close the show. And when opponents actually commit to a combination and become stationary, Price is willing to explode into wide hook combinations, and he can close the distance very quickly. And he likes to grab the Muay Thai plum, finish combinations with knees, and he's a killer-be-killed fighter. None of his UFC fights have seen the final bell. 9 KO TKOs, insane short-range power. And he's only been KO TKO'd twice in his career, but he's taken a lot of damage. And with this style, he relies on his chin. He's been dropped and rocked in a lot of fights, man. I mean, Jeff Neal, Tim Means, Al-Razak Al-Hassan, Randy Brown, Vicente Luque, Alex Morono, they've all hurt him with shots, but he's shown good recoverability, never say die attitude, but eventually, man, you're going to start getting flatlined, getting hurt that much. But Niko Price is not the greatest defensive wrestler. He's gotten taken down in many fights, including his last two. Tim Means was able to slam him with a double leg. Jeff Neal was able to take him down multiple times. Jeff Neal was able to get in on body locks. He got a couple suplexes. He took the back. He eventually postured up from inside of Price's guard and finished the fight with ground and pound. And Niko just couldn't get up off his back, and he just didn't show good defensive technique. And when he was taken down by Randy Brown, he was able to get a hammer fist knockout from the bottom, which is insane. I mean, even off his back, Price has the power to knock you out. But Price can be a little bit sloppy with his entries, especially his double leg when he's offensive wrestling. He has good double legs, though, when he times them correctly. But, I mean, he could shoot him from way too far out. I feel Vick may be able to reverse his takedowns if he goes for takedowns. He does do a good job of using the singles and doubles to get his opponents to the cage and then transitioning to body locks. And he's definitely better at getting the takedowns in the clinch and against the cage. And as opponents actually are on their backs, he likes to work quickly. He has strong ground and pound. He does have 2 UFC submissions. He has a good arm triangle submission that he got over Brandon Thatch. He also has a rear naked choke victory. And Niko Price has 3 submissions overall, and Price has been submitted once by Vicente Luque, but that was more after being dropped and beat up. Price, you know, he has an undying will, he has great cardio, and he's a screw loose, man. I mean, he never thinks he's out of the fight. Almost all of his UFC wins, he was getting beat up bad before coming back for the finish, and, you know, he's just a fun fighter to watch. But James Vick, he has his back against the wall here. Vick has lost 3 consecutive fights, 2 via knockout, and now he's moving up in a weight class to face a knockout artist to Niko Price. And James Vick needs a victory here to avoid being cut. I mean, bottom line. And he's went to Thailand for this camp. He's taking it very seriously. And now 170 pounds, he has a chance to rebuild. But, you know, for James Vick, he has good movement. He throws nice long shots, good jab, both to the body and the head. Nice straight left hand, good 1-2s. He closes his distance with straight punches very well. He'll feint the jab, throw the straight left hand. And he has a decent right hook. He was able to knock Joe Duffy out with a nasty uppercut. He has really nice inside-outside leg kicks, front kicks to the body, head. Really nice left kick to the body. He'll throw side kicks to the body. Really nice spinning back kicks. He'll throw nice step-in knees. And, you know, Vick also has a nice flying knee. And when he throws knees, he does leave his chin straight up in the air and he can get countered. He has good lateral movement, though. Good distance control. He'll slide back and land pull counter straight lefts. And he can back himself up against the cage too much, though, and stand very tall. I mean, Justin Gaethje was able to exploit that, land a big overhand, knocked him out cold. Dan Hooker in his last fight was able to land a nasty left hook that turned his lights out. And it was a pretty devastating knockout in both those fights. You definitely have to question James Vick's chin. He also stands very heavy on his lead leg, and Paul Felder kind of was able to exploit that. And he does throw a heavy volume of punches, 4 knockouts, and he has been knocked out 4 times in his career himself. And James Vick, he's a good grappler as well. You know, if you do take him down, he has good jiu-jitsu, but he has good takedown defense as well. Really good front chokes, guillotines, Darcy's anacondas. Strong in the clinch, nice knees. He's hard to control there. He'll reverse position. I actually think he's the superior grappler in this fight. He is more of a defensive grappler. He doesn't really shoot takedowns, but he does have 5 submissions, and he's never been submitted. And this is a very intriguing fight. I feel like in this fight, we're going to see Vick try to establish the range early with feints, jabs, straight punches. And he's going to be the better technical fighter everywhere. I expect him to also take shots better at 170. And he said he's been working religiously on keeping his hands up, his chin down. And if he stays technical in this fight, long range, picks Price off. I don't see Price having much of an answer for that. Price has to catch Vick when he leans back and get the knockout. Or I think he's going to be getting pieced up, man. I think if Price goes for takedowns, he's going to get reversed, put on his back. And I think Vick is actually better everywhere. and I actually see him getting the knockout here. Tim Means was on his way to flatlining Price, in my opinion. And if James Vick stays technical, I'm going to say Vick gets a first round knockout. But obviously, trusting Vick's chin is tough at this point. And I think he technically is much better than Price, though. And I'm just going to go with that. I mean, the fact that Vick is returning just 3 months after his last knockout is a bit troubling. But Price is also returning 3 months from a brutal fight. And Nico Price is also taking a lot of damage, man. And I'm just going to go with the sharper guy that I think is the better fighter here in James Vick to get it done. So I'm going with James Vick to save his career with a victory. Fuck. Up next here we have Eryk Anders taking on Gerald Meerschaert. Shit, man, I'm fucking horrible at predicting Gerald Meerschaert's fights, so you guys should just fade this pick probably. But man, Eryk Anders, he's returning to 185. He's 1-1 in the UFC at light heavyweight, and then he came back down. He did bounce back from that beating against Khalil Roundtree. He knocked out Vinicius Moreira in the first round. And Gerald Meerschaert, man, I mean, he surprised me with another upset victory over Trevin Giles in his last fight. And he's been up and down in his UFC career, but, man, I mean, like I said, I'm not very good at predicting these fights with Gerald Meerschaert, man, so I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on this fight. I mean, every single time I feel like these guys, like even Anders here in this fight, I feel like Anders should be able to deny the takedowns and just piece this dude up on the feet, knock him out. I think that he hits much harder, he's more athletic, and I just don't think that Meerschaert is going to be able to contend with him on the feet. But, you know, if Meerschaert gets him to the ground, you never know. I mean, what the fuck was Trevin Giles doing in his last fight when he fought Meerschaert, where he's taking him down, he's controlling him in top position? It's like, yeah, I mean, good job. You won a round maybe with top control, but you're playing right into this dude's game. Kevin Holland goes out there, is grappling with him. And it's like, man, I mean, just stay on the feet and beat this guy up. But somehow, I guess Gerald Meerschaert could get these guys to fight his game, do what he wants them to do, and it's, you know, it's like it's good for him. You know, he's good at dragging guys into his style of fight, and he also, you know, has some power on the feet with that left body kick. He can hit hard, but man, in this fight, I'm going with Eryk Anders, and I'm gonna go with Eryk Anders via knockout. I don't know if Gerald Meerschaert is going to make me pay for that again, but I just think that Anders is not going to get taken down here versus Gerald Meerschaert. I think that he's, you know, training up for some May, he's ready to go. He's going to get the knockout here. I mean, he got the knockout in his last fight against Vinicius Moreira, who's a grappler. I know Vinicius is low level, but when he fought a guy like Maluko Perez, I mean, he was able to just dominate Maluko Perez in the grappling. Maluko couldn't get even close to a takedown. You just saw that Anders was much physically stronger than him. And in this fight, I just feel like Anders should be able to get a knockout, man. So I could be way off again. But fuck, I'm going with Eryk Anders via second round knockout in this fight. And up next here we have Luis Pena taking on Matt Frevola. And Luis Pena, you know, he had a dominant victory in his return to lightweight. Kind of had an easy touch in his return against Matt Wyman, who was coming off a long layoff, but treated him accordingly. He finished him in round 3. And Pena is a very long opponent. He's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage in this matchup. And for Matt Frevola, he earned his first UFC win in his last fight, where he earned a decision victory over Jalen Turner. And Foley's done it all in the UFC. He's lost, he's had a draw, and now he's finally earned his first victory. And now he's going to be looking for consistency, his first 2-fight UFC win streak. And Frevola's a dog, man. He's a banger. He's going to go for it in every fight. Fight for your money if you bet on him. In this fight, I feel that on the feet, Pena is going to have a significant advantage. I think he's going to be able to walk him down, use the kicks, knees up the middle, straight punches, and just hurt Frevola as he tries to get inside, similar to Jalen Turner. I think that he's going to be able to back Frevola up, force him to open up against the cage, and when Frevola opens up, I think Pena is going to be able to make him pay with counters. Frevola will try to close the distance, but he just doesn't have much finesse, man. He doesn't feint much. Uses a lot of wide shots. He will throw some dangerous kicks inside, head kicks. And I just think he's really going to struggle, though, to get inside on Luis Pena. I think that Frevola should try to use a lot of low kicks in wrestling. I think that his wrestling isn't the best, though. He doesn't set his shots up well. Doesn't cut the angles well when he gets in on the legs. And he's relentless, though. He will scramble. He will continue to go for takedowns. He does have a good guillotine, and I think that for Pena, though, in his last 2 fights, his defensive grappling, his offensive grappling have looked much improved. He is training at AKA. He's living with Deron Wynn, who's an amazing wrestler. And he's using submissions to defend takedown attempts very well in his last couple fights. He was able to reverse the top position, got takedowns himself against Matt Wyman, and he really ended in some nasty ground and pound against Wyman. And I think in this fight, when Frevola goes for takedowns, Pena's going to be able to deny and reverse. I see him being more willing to grapple, smarter in the scrambles than Jalen Turner was. And I think that when Luis Pena gets top position, he's going to make Frevola pay with ground and pound, land some big shots. I think he's going to be much more competitive in the grappling than Turner, and I just see him putting it on him on the feet. So I think that he's going to be able to get the win here, and I wouldn't be shocked if he got a knockout victory. But Frevola is very tough, man. He's hard to stop. So, Pena, I'm going to say he gets a decision win. But another thing that I think helps him here is, DC has commented Frevola's fights, a couple of them. So, he's seen his wrestling entries. He's seen a lot of things, and I feel like in a fight where Matt Frevola has to wrestle, the fact that Pena has such high-level wrestling coaches, such high-level training camp, people that have seen this guy fight live, like right in front of him. DC was criticizing Matt Frevola's wrestling in his last fight where he's like, that's day one, wrestling and all this stuff. So I think that Luis Pena's going to be ready to go and get the victory here. So I'm going with Luis Pena via decision. Man, this card's pretty stacked, man. Up next, we have another fun fight. Mackenzie Dern taking on Amanda Ribas. And Mackenzie Dern, she's going to be looking to continue her ascent to stardom with a win over Ribas. And Dern, she's 2-0 in the UFC already. But she hasn't fought in a little bit over a year and almost a year and a half. But she's returning just 4 months after having a baby. I mean, that's an extremely fast turnaround. You have to wonder how she's gotten in shape to fight that quickly. But, you can't really judge. I don't want to say you can't judge her decision, but you can't prejudge her decision until you see what happens and see how she's, how she looks out there. So she could be ready to go. She could not. But she's extremely aggressive, and she's not very technical, though, on the feet. She has power. She goes for it. She'll throw a jab out there, some inside-outside leg kicks. She likes to close the distance with straights, hooks, overhands, and she throws in combination. She will throw a jab, overhand right. She'll throw a 1-2 to a body kick. She has a solid counter left hook, and she likes to start quickly, use her combinations to crash into the clinch. She'll throw everything into her overhand rights, into her right hooks, try to turn the lights out. She was actually able to drop Amanda Bobby Cooper with a overhand right. Dern will also throw some round front kicks to the body, to the head. She'll close the distance with wild shots, though. Throws almost all her shots wide. And Ashley Yoder was able to make her pay for that. She used some footwork, kept the range, landed some nice straight punch counters. She even dropped Mackenzie Dern at one point. Mackenzie Dern is not afraid to get hit, though, nor does she get discouraged when she does get hit. And I would say she's a fighter. She's probably willing to battle through adversity. And she has no submission or no knockouts, and she's never been finished by strikes. But Mackenzie Dern, she's one of the best female jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time. If she can get this fight to the mat, especially if she's in top position, the fight's usually over. I mean, Dern really isn't the best offensive wrestler, though. In her fight with Ashley Yoder, she wasn't able to get a takedown until very late in the fight. Dern was able to control in the clinch, gets a cage with underhooks, and landed some decent knees. Dern doesn't really have the most offense for that position, though, and with Ribas being a judo black belt, I mean, she may be at a disadvantage in the clinch. Dern was able to ultimately get a body lock takedown late in the third round versus Yoder. She quickly took the back and was very close to getting the rear naked choke. Dern really doesn't have any offensive wrestling in terms of shooting. She only really has upper body clinches, trip takedowns. She will try to use a single against the cage at times, but she doesn't do a good job fighting the angle. And when she can get on top, though, I mean, she's very good. She'll transition very quickly to the back. Once she gets the back, her top control is top-notch. She'll usually find the rear naked choke. We saw that against Amanda Bobby Cooper. Dern has a strong bout as well, and she'll look for armbars from out. In jiu-jitsu, Dern was more known for her guard game. She had an excellent butterfly guard, submissions off her back, and she's arguably the best leg locker in women's jiu-jitsu history. I think she had like 50% of her submissions via leg lock, which is crazy. But she also had like a 55% submission rate, which, if you know about jiu-jitsu, that's extremely high. She's like very aggressive, very entertaining with her jiu-jitsu. And she'll throw up, a lot of arm bars, triangles, and you don't want to be in this girl's guard. I mean, in MMA, Dern has finished 4 of her wins, and she has 3 submissions via rear naked choke. In this fight, if it hits the mat, even though Ribas is high level, I don't think that she's on the level of Dern. I think Dern's going to be levels above. I do question Dern's cardio coming into the spot. I mean, she's coming off that pregnancy, and historically, we've seen bad performances, and also she's had some cardio issues in the past. But Amanda Ribas, she had an excellent UFC debut. She submitted Emily Whitmire in the second round. And that was her first fight in over 3 years because of USADA suspension. But she's not a very good striker. She basically just likes to use forward pressure to back opponents up, throw a combination that get in the clinch. She's a plotter. She is kind of chin high, spamming 1-2s down the middle. She will throw some nice inside leg kicks, overhand rights. She'll also throw a left hook, right uppercut. And I've seen her throw some body head kicks along with some spinning kicks, but they aren't very effective. When she's striking to the pocket, in the past she's thrown some slow hand speed, and she does keep her chin straight in the air. And she did show some improvements with her hand speed in her last fight, but her opponent didn't really offer much at all on the feet in terms of returning. I feel like Whitmire just was a little bit slow in there that night. And when opponents stuff her takedowns, force her to go backwards, Ribas, she doesn't really do much. I mean, she got knocked out by Polyana Viana, who's a low-level striker. But in her fight with Whitmire, she did kind of, I think, realize that her striking at range is not good, so she doesn't strike much at all at range. She kind of just tries to walk opponents down, get them where they're close to the cage, use a flurry, then just get in the clinch. She's tough though. She's willing to go toe to toe, but she's definitely going to be at a power disadvantage versus Dern. She does have 3 KO TKOs, and she's a high level grappler herself. I mean, she's a black belt in judo and jiu-jitsu. She's competed in EBI, and it's going to be interesting to see if she's going to look to take down a girl like Mackenzie Dern, but Ribas is very strong in the clinch. She controls fighters against the cage well. And in her last fight, she almost immediately looked to take it to the ground. She was able to get her in the clinch, circle to the back, jump on the back from standing. She got the body triangle. She showed some great control. And in the first round, Whitmire was able to turn in, take top position after Ribas probably had about 3.5 minutes of back control. And Whitmire was able to control on top for about 1 minute and 30 seconds, but didn't really get any offense off. And then in the second round, Ribas was able to take her down, moved him out, landed some big shots, forced her to give her back, and then submitted her. And Ribas does have 3 ridiculous chokes, and she's never been submitted. Pre-tape, I had a heavy lead towards Mackenzie Dern, but after watching both of them fight, I'm not as confident. Dern gets the majority of her takedowns in the clinch, and I'm curious to see who's going to win the clinch battle here. If Ribas is to win, I see it being through control of the cage, being able to hold her own in the striking. Striking-wise, though, I do feel Dern is more athletic, and she throws more volume, has more power. Dern definitely has a better chance to finish the fight. I don't see Ribas being able to finish Dern. In this fight, I think if Dern is aggressive early, she's going to have a chance to get Ribas out of there. I think if it becomes a dogfight in the clinch, I mean, who knows? She may gas and lose, but I'm going to go with Dern via first-round submission. I think she's going to club and sub Ribas, but, man, this is a tricky fight in my opinion. And up next year in the co-main event with Cub Swanson and Crow Gracie, we kind of know the deal here, right? We know Crow Gracie's going to be the grappler, want to get it to the ground. Cub's going to want to keep it on the feet. And, Crow's getting a massive opportunity to jump right into the fray at 145 pounds. He's getting to face a legend in Cub who's lost 4 consecutive fights. And I think the UFC is obviously looking to build Crow off of Cub Swanson. But Crow, he still looks very green in the stand-up, man. I mean, in his fight versus Caceres, he only had to throw a few shots before he ducked under and got the takedown. But he's a plotter, man. He doesn't throw many kicks. He's very hittable, it looks like. And, I mean, he's just looking to close the distance and grab a hold of you. But, I mean, he's tough. He's willing to get hit, unlike a lot of BJJ fighters. But he has no knockouts. He's not really a knockout threat. And his jiu-jitsu, though, is on another level. He's one of the best pure BJJ fighters in the world. He will kind of get in the single collar, throw some uppercuts, hooks to the body, and he's very good at pulling guard, man. I mean, he'll throw flying triangles up. He's great at getting his legs latched midair to have control of the body, keep opponents on the ground. In his last fight versus Caceres, he ducked under into a double underhooked very nicely and circled to the back at the finish quickly. And his guard is phenomenal if he pulls guard, if you take him down. Very high guard. You'll offset opponent's bounces, try to take the back while his opponents still have to defend the armbar and triangle. Pretty crazy. I mean, the ability he has to use his legs to go from guard to back mount is pretty unbelievable. I mean, he'll get the arm under the neck even when he doesn't have the back and contort his opponents to get the squeeze. And he'll transition to belly down arm bars, leg locks. Once he has the back, man, he's like a boulder. He has super heavy top pressure. He'll soften opponents up with heel kicks, punches. And if this fight touches the mat one time, I think Swanson will get submitted. Gracie has 5 submissions in his 5 pro victories. And, Cubby's fighting for his career here, man. I mean, he's lost 4 consecutive fights. He's been finished in 3 of the 4 fights. And he's going to have a massive wealth of experience to fall back on. He's been facing the best of the best for almost half a decade. And Gracie's never even faced probably a top 40 guy. I mean, maybe you could say Caceres or Tatsuya Kawajiri was in the top 50, maybe. I mean, who knows? But Swanson, man, he's notorious for getting caught in submission. So this is a dangerous matchup. But, man, I'm going to go begrudgingly pick Swanson here. I think his advantage on the feet is massive. I think he's going to piece Crone up if it stays standing. I see him being able to use low kicks early. Try to make Crone slower and just stay on the outside, touch and move. Don't let Crone back him up towards the cage or get close enough to clinch and just outstrike him. On the feet, he has a massive advantage. I mean, really haven't seen Crone strike much at all over his career or face much adversity on the feet. He threw only a couple punches in his UFC debut and then got the takedown. And, against Kawajiri was taking him down. He fought a lot of grapplers in Ryzen that, were good style for him. And this is a scary fight. A fight I could never bet on because Crone just needs 1 takedown to win. But I'm going to say come out, strikes him, touches him, touches him moving, and gets a KO or a decision victory. So I'm going with Cub Swanson to get it done here. And up next, we have a fun fight here as well in the main event with Joanna Jedrzejczyk taking on Michelle Waterson. And, the Pride of Poland returns. She's headlining her 3rd UFC event. And Joanna, she's returning to the weight class she dominated after that failed bid to win the flyweight title. But she is 1-3 in her last 3 fights. She definitely needs a victory here. And Joanna, she's blistered fast, man. She's one of the best strikers in the entire UFC. She's an amazing jab, and she used to use that a lot in this fight. She'll double, triple up on her jab. She really accentuates her reach, and she needs to stay long, throw her jab hard and straight, both to the body and the head. And she definitely is good at using her jab to set up combinations. When she finds a range, she's deadly, man. She has a nice jab to a straight right hand to the body. She does a good job of using her jab to set up the overhand right or a right hook. She has nice feints and fakes. She likes to fake shots to get reactions from her opponent and then attack areas that are left vulnerable. She kept faking the left hook to the head, then going to the body against Claudia Gadelha. And she dropped Claudia Gadelha with a nice uppercut. She has really brutal calf kicks that she used against Rose Namajunas. Nasty front teeps to the body. She'll throw right teep to the head after landing it to the body a few times. She catches fighters clean with that when they don't see it coming. She also does a good job setting up her teeps with leg kicks. And she likes to throw a lot of inside-outside, low kicks to front kicks to the body. She'll also throw front leg round kicks to the face as well. Very fluid kicking technique with both legs. And she's definitely going to be the faster fighter in space. But she does have a tendency to get a little bit emotional and stand flat-footed. She was tagged a couple times by Tecia Torres because of that. And, if not, in this fight, though, I don't think that Michelle really has the power to hurt her with 1 punch. But, she has showed a little bit of a difference in her chin and in her ability to take shots where it's a little bit not as good as it used to be. But she is dangerous. I mean, she has 4 knockouts. She keeps that crazy amount of volume out there for 5 rounds. And she's only been finished once by strikes. And, man, I mean, she's nasty in the clinch. She does a good job sprawling on takedowns, getting overhooks, throwing hard knees to the body, going over the top with elbows. Against Tecia Torres, she did a good job defending takedowns against the cage. She was able to use her underhooks, good head position to turn Torres. Landed some nasty knees to the body, good front elbows. She likes to get the Muay Thai plug where she's very good from there. Great job pulling opponents' heads down, attacking with knees, hard elbows. And, great takedown defense. I mean, phenomenal balance technique. Very hard to take down. And when she does get taken down, very hard to hold down. She just works right back to her feet. We've seen opponents like Claudia Gadelha have success taking her down early. But, as JJ continued to get up, continued to start defending the takedowns over time, Gadelha would gas out. And, Joanna hasn't really went for a lot of takedowns over her career. She only has 2 takedowns and 11 UFC fights. She does have 83% takedown defense. She really isn't a submission threat. Only 1 submission in her career. She's never been submitted, but I feel like she's going to be physically stronger in this matchup. For Michelle Waterson, she is on the best run of her career, and she's really improved her footwork and movement on the feet. She's much less stationary. She, She circles off the cage better. In this fight, Michelle has to be a moving target. She has to be on the outside, moving laterally, giving different angles, not standing in front of JJ. Michelle is much better at controlling distance than in the past also. She has a nice jab. She has a good 1-2. She'll throw a lot of straight overhand rights. And Waterson doesn't like exchanging and being in the pocket. She has started to implement some takedown feints, come up into uppercuts, good inside-outside leg kicks. She uses a lot of oblique kicks to the legs. She likes to throw side kicks to the knee, to a left hook combination. Very nice straight overhand right. And she uses a lot of front leg side kicks, body head. She'll throw some nice round kicks, body head as well. Very nice spinning heel kicks, question mark kicks. But Waterson's boxing is still not very good. She falls into punches at times, very open to straight punch counters, and when she throws her overhand right, she kind of overextends. And when Waterson gets clean, her defense is just not good. She'll reach to grab instead of trying to defend, even turn away at times. Rose Namajunas was able to land a nasty head kick because Michelle turned away from her. And her last three opponents have all had plodding footwork. They weren't really able to cut the cage off well. And Waterson came back up with her lead hand down as well, which I think could be trouble versus Joanna. And she's going to be the smaller fighter who's at a power disadvantage. She just has 3 career TKOs. She does have a decent chin, but she does get marked up a lot. And I don't think she has, the greatest durability. She's been TKO'd one time, but she was dropped and submitted by Namajunas. She was hurt with some punches against Courtney Casey. And she's an improved grappler. She's still small for the division. She can get out-muscled in the clinch. Tisha Torres was able to beat her up, move her around in the clinch. But she does look to be improving with her strength. She's bigger than she was in the past. And she was able to land some big elbows, knees in the clinch versus Kovacevic. She controlled her against the cage. And Waterson does have one of the best hip tosses in the game. She's able to just get a lot of these girls with the hip toss. She got Torres, Carolina. And Waterson also lands nice body lock, trip takedowns, very fast single leg, and she chains it into the double leg very well. In top position, Waterson more about control recently. She stays very heavy. She works short shots. She tries to maintain the position. In Waterson's last match, she did jump on an armbar late in round 2, but that was with 10 seconds left in the round. And she can be inactive in top position, and she has had trouble with submission defense. Courtney Casey was able to put her in some R-bars. Torres had her in a triangle. Waterson is one of those girls that was very hard to submit. She could scramble out of very tight chokes, R-bars. And Waterson has been submitted 3 times, though. Rose Namajunas was able to submit her in the UFC with a rear naked choke. Michelle does like to jump on the back herself, and she got a nice rear naked choke against Paige Van Zandt. And almost all of Waterson's submissions have been via rear naked choke. In this fight for Michelle, she has to get takedowns and control on top. I don't see her being able to survive a 5-round fight solely on the feet. She does have 9 submissions, so she has been opportunistic with submissions in the past. Not really in the UFC. In this fight, I really don't see many path to victories for Waterson, though. Joanna's going to be the much bigger, and I think the stronger, better fighter in the clinch. Joanna also has some of the best takedown defense and cardio and get-ups in the division. On the feet, I think the jab of Joanna, the leg kicks are going to be a problem for Michelle. I think when Joanna gets her jab going and starts going forward behind her fade, she can piece Michelle up with combinations. And the way that Michelle defends hand combos, I just don't think will be enough to survive versus Joanna. JJ can cut the cage off, unlike her last opponents, and if she can back her up, man, I just think that Michelle's going to get pieced up with the hands. If Michelle walks her into a kick, or if JJ has a bad weight cut or something, maybe she could get knocked out, but I think it's unlikely. I just see Joanna as a cut above here. I think she's going to piece Michelle up and finish her, actually. I think it'll be early, too. I think it's going to be a beatdown, and I'm going to say Joanna will be a late second-round TKO in this fight. Unfortunately, there was one fight that was taken off this card, Brock Weaver versus Thomas Gifford, and Brock Weaver is actually going to be part of my parlay of the week, but I think they're trying to get Gifford a new opponent here. And for my most confident pick this week, I'm going to say it's going to be Joanna Jedrzejczyk. And for the parlay of the week, I'm going to say Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Miguel Baeza as the parlay of the week. And a couple other guys that I'm pretty confident in, I guess, would be Marlo Chito Vera, JJ Aldrich, Max Griffin. I do actually, I guess after looking at this, I picked a lot of underdogs on this card. I picked Cub, James Vick, Devin Clark, Tim Elliott. I think that's it. Yeah, but yes, I picked quite a few underdogs on this card, and yeah, I think this is a fun card on paper. I mean, a lot of fun fights, a lot of fun matchups, and thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, it was sick that I hit my 2,000 subscribers goal, but let's keep subscribing, man. Don't fucking stop subscribing just because I hit 2,000. You know, let's keep it going. Let's keep rocking and rolling. You know, and thanks for all the support, and you know, let's have fun watching these fights and make some money on Saturday.